Isolated house party.
This is Lunar Test.
Isolated house party. House party. I am going to rock. I know they blocked me for a period from the game, but then I learned another game. And that's the thing about us. If when you have a mind and you work your mind, you can be in this industry, that industry. It doesn't matter what industry you put me in. If I figure out the industry, I am going to rock. I know you. I know they blocked me for a period from the game, but then I learned another game.
What's going on? This is Aaron, aka Azur, from Lunar Lounge, recording this at 10 o'clock in the morning on, Labor Day. On Labor Day. We've got another interesting time zone differential. Last week we were with Cashew from Croatia. Today we're with Peacemaker, calling from Portugal. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's going on, Aaron?
Not much. Just celebrating an American holiday, day off here. Normally I'd be working,
First day.
but I figured, hey, you know what I want to do at 10 o'clock in the morning? I want to talk to some DJs out there.
Yeah.
So
It's a good day to do on a day off.
yeah, not a bad day. What are you up to today? You're just telling me you've wrapped up lunch and you're at a buddy's house earlier.
Yeah, I'm at buddy's house. Probably I'm gonna check on some tunes, and because it's still summer here, so probably go for a walk on a beach or something and have a couple drinks.
Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds
just-
very nice. That sounds very nice. Well, I'm excited to get to talk to you today. I know that it's actually funny. So we like to start most of our green room interviews by asking people or talking a little bit about the stories of how we actually met the people that we're interviewing. And if I recall correctly, you and I actually met. I mean, we've met on Instagram a bunch of times, but you and I really started talking because you tuned in to the green room interviews, and so now we're interviewing you through a green room interview. So it's a little bit meta, but I guess that's what this is all about. So, I'd love to get started and hear a little bit more about your experience and how you got started. You were telling me that you started making music only about 3 to 4 years ago, very seriously, right?
Yeah, very seriously. I started just for fun. Like when I was 16, 17, a friend of mine bought like the machine Micro from Native, and it came with the DAW machine to use on the computer, and we just started to mess with some samples, but not. I back then I didn't ever make a full track, I only started way after it, around like 3 4 years, as I was telling you about. And then I thought I needed a bit of a boost, so I went to a school in Lisbon. It's called ETIC. It's like audiovisual school, photographing, filming, music production. And I went to a 1 year like class, and then the real flame started from there, you know. And then that year ended up, I started producing more with a friend, with a guy that I knew back then, that taught me a lot. And then I just started to meeting people in the business and networking, and going to events and parties, like ADE. I met a lot of people over there, and I went like 3 straight years, and I met people around the world in the business, you know. And it was super productive, a super exhausting week, but it's 100% worth it. You can hear other people talk about their experience, how they start as well. And I think it's like things in life. You have to have other people telling their story for you to grow as a person, in this case, like as an artist, you know, as a producer. Tips, production hacks, all genre of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And it was really good, that event, for the beginning, as a beginner, because 1 year nobody knew me, and the next year some people knew me, so it was like a big, had a big impact for me. So whenever I came back from there, I just kept on working more and more. And instead of doing music like 8 hours a week, I started to do like 20 hours a week of music production.
Yeah.
And it's like evolving in thing. It's just like practice.
Of course.
You just have to keep practicing and learning how it works. And then life has a big impact on this, because
Ableton Live.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And I want to hear about some of the people that you interviewed or networked with when you first started. But before we do that, tell me a little bit about your artist journey. You've done G House, Tech House, Big Room, Dubstep. I mean,
Yeah.
how did you end up what you're doing now?
Oh man, if I start from the beginning, it was like I always had like I always liked music since I was younger. You know, I won like a 256 megabyte MP3 from Creative in a contest.
No way.
Yeah, I swear by God, like I call it the TV network. That was the contest, and I won. It was like 1 in a million chance. And back then, having 14 tracks or 15 in a USB was like crazy. It was like mind blowing. Back then, I was like completely metalhead. I only listened to Metallica, Slipknot, Slayer, Megadeth,
No way. That's
all that,
awesome.
all that stuff, and a lot of 80s and 70s music, you know. And then I had that friend of mine that introduced me to the Machine Micro, and then the Skrillex EP came out. They started having a lot of drum and bass projects in Portugal as well. So all that kind of bass music just like mixed it, blended all together very nicely, like the electro house, dubstep, breakbeat, drum and bass, all that genres start to blend very well, and I really enjoy it back then. I still do, but music evolved, so you start to listening to, for example, I'm not the biggest fan of the actual dubstep they do now, but I still enjoy the drum and bass they do nowadays.
Yeah.
It's more cleaner, it's more less noisy. It depends from the artist. But like I was telling you about as well, we have a lot of psytrance parties, so it was like, or even I listen to drum and bass, dubstep, that kind of bass music. I listen to a lot of psytrance, the old Vini Vici projects, all that kind of stuff, because it was super popular here.
Hmm.
Uh, and then they started playing on the radio those Disclosure tracks, Gorgon City, and so on.
Oh, yes.
So I think the real house passion came from that that area, that kind of genre.
Yeah.
So uh, since then, house, future house, deep house, all that came nicely, and it was the time that I start production. So I really enjoyed that style back then. And then the bass house came. Nobody was production bass house in here, so I started, and that's how I met the people from the outside and
Yep.
working with labels and all that.
Yeah. Well, good segue because first off, I love the journey in terms of all your different genres that you're working with, but you're now in the world of working with labels like Confession, In Rotation, Gold Digger, and you were telling me that you're actually really close with the Gold Digger people, right?
Yeah, I met them the first year of ADE, and then they gave me a T-shirt, and then I was on that project, so I grabbed a lot of gig pictures, and I always was wearing that shirt just to show some love to the label, show some love to the people, because even we weren't playing like a full bass house set, we still would play a couple tracks from the label and releasing with them. So um, I started releasing a couple tracks with them, but then I evolved. I had like the first Confession release I had was with an American artist called Fullspat.
Okay.
Not sure which state is him. I can't remember. But we released it on the Alchemy 4, if I'm not mistaken. It was probably 1 year and a half, 2 years ago. I'm very bad with dates.
No worries, man.
We are very bad with dates. And then I also got to know a lot of people that were releasing there, and it just flipped the scene for me. From 1 year, nobody knew me, and I didn't knew nobody like in person, only for their work. And now I have friends in the business that are in releasing with those labels and being friends with them like for a while now.
Yeah.
So
And is that like Socks and like the rest of that's the Gold Digger crew you're talking about?
yeah. Socks. I met him online, but my manager is also managing him. So
Wasn't he just in Portugal? Was he visiting you?
he came to Portugal 2 weeks ago because we had like a management camping. Without the
Okay.
camping, was like we were in a big house and we were doing live streams every day
Sure.
and partying every day. So I didn't knew Socks personally, but he ended up being like a super cool kid, and
Yeah, I'm sure.
like all of them in the crew, they are like all super nice guys and
Yeah, I'm
always
sure.
for talking.
And you were telling me that part of what you feel like your success has been lately has been that now when you look at these labels, and you can use the Gold Digger crew as an example, you're now no longer just some random person trying to get your tracks out there. You're friends sending demos to friends.
Yeah, that's exactly like that. And you have like a lot of people that are releasing a track, and friends of mine that are releasing in bigger labels than I. It happens. They send me the track like a month before or whenever, and just asking for feedback and talking, making collabs with 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 them, and some of them is just talk and start creating relationships
Yeah.
with them. It's not all about music 100%. For example, I had a friend of mine from Belgium, Jay Dunham. It's like one of the guys from Hooters, and we met at ADE. And last year he came to spend a week at my place, and we went to a festival and we party, and I show it my culture, and it was more than music. We met because of this business, and this
But
culture.
it
And
grew.
yeah, and after that becomes two things blend together, and I think it's like having a healthy relationship with a person. You just don't talk about music, or just, oh man, give me some feedback about it, or can you give me that label email or something like that. No, I think it's more,
Yeah.
you go, yo man, how's the family, uh how have you been, that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. Now, something that's interesting too, and I mean, if anyone's been tuning in, like this is it's just the theme of the show. Like, you just get over it at this point. Like,
Yeah,
networking is always super important,
yeah.
and building genuine relationships. Let me ask you a little bit of a pointed question here. I mean, I don't really know how this would work, but let's say that you're friends with someone who is releasing on a much bigger label, like I don't know, like a Spinnin' or I don't know, like a really big label. Do you feel like having a relationship with artists that are releasing on a bigger label, does that help you get to that label at all, or not so much? If
I
they're
think it sorry, I think it depends of the kind of people that are releasing there, the personality of that people, or if you have a big relationship with that person before that person achieved that label,
yeah,
or because sometimes, imagine, I have a friend of mine that released it on Musical Freedom, for example. I'm not just gonna ask you, oh man, what's up? I didn't talk with you like for the past 3 years, but can you give me the email or something? I think sometimes most people are not willing to do that because probably they had some people asking for the same thing before, and some people probably with a better relationship. So I think it's all about the 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 connection you have with that person, and the affinity you have
yeah.
talking with them.
So if it's like your best friend, then you think it might be able to help you. I mean, I'm curious if these labels, let's just, I'm gonna use Socks as an example. This is a fake scenario, it doesn't exist. Let's say
Yeah,
Socks gets released on a top label. Does Socks have any power in terms of saying, hey, check out this guy Peacemaker, you should listen to his new stuff? Or, like, I guess it really is probably a case by case basis, but I'm curious.
yeah. I think in that case, probably yes, because we are both under the same management. So, and we are all good friends, uh, and I think that if he does that, imagine if he did that, I would probably do the same for him in the best way I could. Imagine I could.
Whatever you can do back.
Yeah, I will do that. Just like a hand washing the other hand.
Yep, exactly. Absolutely.
Just a favor for a favor, a tooth
Abs-
for a tooth.
no doubt, no doubt. Well, it's very interesting too, because like the United States networking, like whole scenario, right? Because you've got promoters out in LA that can help, cross book a show for a promoter in New York. You've got label heads all over. Portugal is a little bit more of a smaller market. And last week we were interviewing, like I said, we were interviewing Cashew, and he was talking about the challenges from living in Croatia. You were telling me a little about this before. How do you feel living in Portugal affects your ability in the music industry?
Affects a lot because the kind of music is not the most popular here yet. I think in the near future could go better. But I think it's all about knowing the right people in here. In this case, if you know anyone from that works in a radio or a TV station or some in the social community, they're probably gonna know somebody that could help you doing at least opening for a guy in a big festival during summer, or even the secondary stage or the electronic tent, as we call it. It's like the last stage to close that probably is going to close at 8 a.m. and you just have to fill it up with somebody. But I think in general, it's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
It's just harder. There's just less people. Something weird, or not weird, but cool or unique that you were telling me about. I guess it's probably not cool because it probably hurts you, but like that the electronic music scene isn't mainstream electronic music, and by mainstream I mean like things that your average electronic music fan would consider fun. But then the mainstream, so because like in America, there's like, electronic music clubs that just play that stuff, and it's like, hey, if you're into electronic music, like you'll probably like whatever's being played here on an average weekend. Some weekends are hits, some weekends are misses. And then for like mainstream festivals like a Coachella or what have you, like you're definitely not having just EDM, but the EDM that is there is stuff that like, again, like most people are gonna like. You're telling me in Portugal there's none of that. It's kind of like it's like it's either too heavy, like the EDM is like not mainstream, it's like psytrance, or the mainstream stuff is like way too mainstream to even be EDM.
Yeah, it's too mainstream. But like I was telling you about, there are like one or two festivals that only they fill it up with mainstream EDM, like from art style to trap to big room to progressive house. They have like one or two. It's the maximum you can find, or some smaller party they do during summer, but you won't see like a sea of people. It's like it's gonna be not a big party, but some people that follow the artist probably will be there just because that artist is going there. But the big festivals, you can only find like a big one, a big artist that you like in the middle of some others. For example, this year we were supposed to have a Trippy Reed, Bad Bunny, and Osuna, and then you have Major Lazer and Medusa.
Medusa?
Medusa.
That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, that's the only guy, but you're not going to a
you're not going for Bad Bunny
with 11-day camping just for one guy, and if it's a long way from home, probably you're not going to that festival, definitely.
Yeah.
But there are some good cases. For example, I have a festival like 5 minutes away from my house, and they had Skrillex 5 years ago or 6.
Wow.
And last year we had Gorgon City, and Disclosure was the best we could have,
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yes. And the rest was just like FKJ, Kate Renata.
Hey, I love FKJ.
I
love FKJ.
It's still good. But then you have like Eddie Vedder. Okay, I'm not saying Eddie Vedder is good, Pearl Jam and all, but in the middle of those guys, it's like super bipolar.
Yeah.
Festivals,
You can't really go as like an electronic, like if you're into the music scene, you can't just like go to a spot and like sit there. And that, my friend, is why terrible politics and terribly run society aside, you should come to the United States.
Yeah.
Because we have that. New York specifically, that's the whole thing. But I won't get on a rant about New York. But that's why I live in New York, is because you can.
We can talk about that later.
Let's talk more about you. You've got what? You got your release coming out on In Rotation and your birthday in a couple. What is this? 2 weeks?
Next
week?
15, next week on next Tuesday, 15th of September.
I bet you didn't think that you were going to be releasing a song on In Rotation on your birthday and you'd be stuck inside, did you?
Yeah, no, man. I did not believe, but it's still a good release on my birthday, so probably it's better.
Yeah. So what is this? You said this is your 4th release with In Rotation?
4th release, and it's my 35th release. Main
I thought
release.
you were about to say it was your 35th birthday. How old are you?
I'm going to do 26.
Okay, I was gonna say you're my age, not 35.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So you've done what? At this point, you've done, to do a little flex, Confession, In Rotation, Gold Digger.
Gold Digger. I had Medium Rare, Boathouse.
Boathouse too.
Future House Music. I've released it with them 2 tracks on their sub-label Nix.
Mm-hmm.
And those were the biggest hits this year, probably.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're one of them is hitting almost 500,000 streams on Spotify.
Wow.
Probably next week it's almost there. And let me see, I had like 35 release, but Medium Rare, Confession, Gold Digger, In Rotation, Future House Music. Oh man,
That's pretty good. I mean, that's a lot right there.
Yeah, and a couple more that are pretty good, but I can't remember.
You're definitely in like I mean, I'm sure that the Portugal market, like you said, the Portuguese market is challenging to break through, but you're definitely in a spot where like you've set a pretty solid foundation for yourself in terms of like releases, label releases. Like I know you work with a lot of really cool. I was just looking earlier. You've had a release with Nostalgics. Like you have some really great stuff that you have. So I mean, hats off to you.
Yeah, man. I think you just have to keep on working, and things will happen. Like I was telling that story that I released the track on Boathouse, and the guy came to ask me if that was my track.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, that's my track. Why? And the guy, okay, how much do you charge to come to New Zealand to play in a party? And I was like, for real? Okay, I didn't. I was telling everyone about it, all my friends, my mom, people in the business, and I was like, imagine if this is like someone doing catfish to me, like catfish. And then when I arrived there, it was like 8 hours to Dubai and 16 hours.
And they paid for your flight, right? I have to imagine.
Yeah.
So you're like, if I get catfished, at the very least, I got a free flight.
Yeah, free flight. That was my main idea at the moment. And then they came to pick me up, and I had like an amazing week. The party I was supposed to play with Jason Amour was shut down by before I played, was shut down by the police.
So you flew all the way out there and you didn't even play?
Yeah, no. Let me tell you about. And then Motroda was in Auckland to play a gig in a club, and Jason was playing as well. So he got me like half an hour for me to play after Motroda. So It was a highlight. I didn't believe, man. It was
so you didn't even play the gig that you were paid for, but you still got to play for Motroda?
Yes, correct.
So which one would you rather have done?
I rather have done both,
You had to pick.
But I probably there will be plenty of opportunities when the pandemic is over, and it was just like a super random story that had like a happy ending.
Yeah, you kind of don't. You kind of just want to leave it as it is.
Yeah, man.
All right, I
So
get that.
for me, it was perfect.
Yeah. All right. So speaking about hard work, as we wrap this up, I mean, everyone has been in the same boat in terms of just producing and grinding or doing personal life things, whatever you've been doing for the past 5 months. You've been up to what has that been for you? What are you up to? What are you working on? And what are you looking forward to over the next couple of months besides that release coming out?
Okay, I have EP together with a track with Kasnowski and other with Dave Summit coming out on 2 Dutch label from Showtech. I released it with them 2 years ago. I think like around that time as well, and it was a pretty it's success for me. It was like I had like 40,000 plays on Spotify, and it was like amazing for me. I have those 2 tracks. I have one track coming out on House Views next month as well, and I have another on Medium Rare in December. But I'm doing a remix of a track of Queen, another one Bite the Dust, with an artist that I can't say the name, and a big artist. And I'm working with another collab with another big artist that lives in America. Both
Wow.
of them live in America. One of them already play at Ultra main stage. So, and I have a couple more, but there's always something new happening every day. So some of them good, some of them bad, but I have a lot of work to
Yeah.
come.
Well, that's great, man.
I
I love
have
to
a
hear
lot
that.
of collabs with a lot of friends. Probably I have like 15 collabs to finish with all good upcoming artists. So I have to finish that. Now it's getting winter time. Summer is almost over, so the winter time is the best to have like a proper mindset to grind all day and keep releasing more and more music until new opportunities came, you know.
Yeah, that's great, man. Well, I now I need to get in the studio and I need to put some work in, and I'm sure you do too. So, Peacemaker, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. We really appreciate it. Any last words for our people watching?
Just stay tuned, you know, because there's a lot of work coming out.
I love that. I love that. All right, man. I'll catch you later. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man. Bye. Nice to meet you.